Welcome to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, your host, and today is Thursday, October 5th, 2017. I am joined, of course, by Craig Chrysler. Today on the agenda, we've got a new t-shirt and a new lie from the Puerto Rico mayor of San Juan. Strange woman. She seems to have her personal t-shirt factory. I wish her the best of luck, because after she leaves politics, she's clearly going to be the next Teespring. After that, we're going to talk about the new call for gun control that is both inevitable, predictable, and incredibly stupid and annoying coming out of what happened in Las Vegas. And then we have several stories that basically document globalism crumbling worldwide. But we're going to start with what's happening in Puerto Rico with San Juan mayor. And she's got a new shirt. Craig, you saw her original shirt, right? I think we've got the tweet. Her original shirt said, "Help us, we are dying." And we've got that on Twitter, I believe, from some Twitter-verified cucklord, Brian Stetler, whatever his name is. And speaking with Anderson Cooper, San Juan mayor is wearing a shirt that says, "Help us, we are dying." And so then now she goes on a TV interview in response to Trump, who rightly criticized her for politicizing this horrible disaster and lying and making it sound like the federal government isn't helping. So now she is wearing a nasty t-shirt, nasty woman, for a TV interview in response to Trump. And it says, who is this from here? This is from the Free Beacon. San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz, who had previously said her criticisms of the federal government's handling of Hurricane Maria were about saving lives and not about politics, took a shot at President Donald Trump by wearing a shirt that read "nasty" on it during a Univision interview. And if you're a longtime fan of the show, you know exactly all about Univision and how they funded the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
So,
sounds like a great woman.
A nasty woman, but a great one.
And a nasty great.
It helps when they self-identify as that.
Yes.
Because when a man says it,
now we know what we're dealing with.
Exactly. Now we know what we are dealing with. When a man says it, it is sexist. But when a woman says it about herself, can we repeat that? She is a nasty woman.
Does this mean she doesn't shower or?
Well, in Puerto Rico, according to her, nobody is showering. But again, she somehow has this wonderful capability. She has her own t-shirt press.
Yes.
She has her own screen printing service in the bottom of the mayoral residence in San Juan, I think. I think that's what's happening.
Can't shower, but she can make t-shirts.
That's right.
Fresh t-shirt every day.
No electricity, no food, but a new custom-made t-shirt with branding on it.
Yes.
Every day of the week. No problem.
Sounds reasonable.
Do you know how hard it is for us to get t-shirts? And we live in Kansas. There's no natural disaster here. It would take a good week and a half for me to get a custom printed t-shirt here.
Yeah.
That's with the graphic designer in-house.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally nuts that she can get these things. And so, of course, President Trump, this was all in response to his tweet that said, well, a couple tweets, but the mayor of San Juan, who was very complimentary only a few days ago, has now been told by Democrats that you must be nasty to Trump. And I think that's about the gist of it, because these people, it would be so much more politically expedient for them if they would just not. But they're told by their Democratic friends that you will get publicity, you will get free points if you say mean things about the president.
Yeah, Hillary probably gave her a call and told her what's up.
I think that's fair to say. Well, one thing that the president has been called out on repeatedly is for pointing out Puerto Rico's precarious financial position. I mean, it is bankrupt, it is destitute, it is a intellectually disadvantaged area.
Well, before the hurricane, the place looked like a hurricane hit it, because I've been there several times, and it's not good.
Well, it's not good. And
hate to call it a dump, but it's a dump. Now
they want to be a U.S. state, and they've been out of money. I mean, it would be the equivalent of taking a new state. It is. I don't understand why they want to be a state if they're broke. We don't want a broke state. We want a state that's going to give us money and do wonderful things for the tax base. We don't want something that's going to be a net drain. And it's unfortunate that Puerto Rico is in such a position, but it's not getting better is what we're learning now from, and this isn't from the vast right-wing conspiracy websites that we're going to talk about a little bit later. No. You can actually go to prison for reading right-wing propaganda like The Honest Media and watching our videos if you are in the United Kingdom. But this is from a mainstream Bloomberg. It's from the mainstream media. Puerto Rico is running out of money. Before tackling the $74 billion debt, a liquidity crisis looms. And of course, because this is Bloomberg, everybody, they say that if the Congress doesn't send money to Puerto Rico, then disaster. It will be a disaster, is the exact quote.
Maybe we should give it to North Korea.
Well, the Clintons did. We should. The Democrats seem to love the Clintons, so perhaps we should go back to giving North Korea nukes and pretending that Puerto Rico isn't a problem. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, do you remember last week when Hillary Clinton did that bizarro interview? Did you see that, Craig?
I don't know.
Well, she went on, I believe it was MSNBC, and she literally said that she personally called the Navy and sent help to Puerto Rico.
No.
She thought she was president.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing ever. But so let's dive into Puerto Rico's looming financial collapse. Oh, it was seriously weird. Nobody's called her on it, and it was seriously weird.
Somebody needs to keep her locked up.
She needs to go back to the woods.
Yes.
And live with Bigfoot, and they can both just be myths.
Yes.
But now this is from Bloomberg. Puerto Rico broke. The U.S. Commonwealth's bankrupt government is burning through the $1.6 billion it had on hand before Hurricane Maria ravaged the island, destroying decayed infrastructure and killing 34 people. With widespread damage to telecommunication systems and the electricity grid, Maldonado doesn't expect to begin collecting sales tax for at least another month, he said Wednesday. And that is the Treasury Secretary of Puerto Rico. I just don't understand. I mean, I guess I get it. It's a horrible disaster. But we make fun of Jeb, but in the presidential debates, he made a joke and it was terrible, and nobody laughed with him. Nobody laughed at him either. But he said in Florida they called him Jeb Corleone. And that's how he said it. Now, I'm not mispronouncing. Mm-hmm. And he said that they called him that because he developed such a reputation for building a surplus, getting Florida a good economy, making sure that in the event of a disaster, they would have money on hand to deal with the disaster, like a hurricane, and Puerto Rico in a much more precarious position than Florida. What, I guess they didn't think this would happen? Yeah. I don't understand. There is no planning. There is no foresight. We've got to take a moment off. We'll be right back. You're watching The Honest Media. We're talking about the mess that is Puerto Rico and what the rebuilding effort might entail. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I am, of course, Tom Papper, your host. I'm here with Craig Chrysler. We're talking right now, and probably for the rest of this segment here, we're going to talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico. Because there's a lot of fake news, there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of outright lies that need to be corrected, and why not do it on our little platform right here, right now. Now back to the Bloomberg article we were reading. The governor, Ricardo Rosselló of Puerto Rico, says that there are conservatively 100,000 homes that have been destroyed. His quote is essentially, "You were looking at zero revenue for the next couple of months." He said, while you have zero revenue, you still have expenditures, plus emergency expenditures. This means money is going to run out very quickly. Maldonado, again, we're back to the Treasury guy, said he has requested between $6 billion and $8 billion in aid from Congress to keep the government running for a few months. The treasurer said he has set aside funds to make payroll and pension payments in October, but if Congress fails to act, he said the island is facing a total shutdown on November 1st that would curtail essential services and the distribution of aid. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said in a press statement that the Senate stands ready to help. House Speaker Paul Ryan's office didn't respond to a request to discuss the October 31st run dry date because what is Paul Ryan doing? He's certainly not legislating.
Who knows?
He's not legislating, whatever he's doing. But so
lifting weights, I guess.
Yeah, probably with Obama, right? With the little 2-pound dumbbells.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that. But we talked about a minute ago. It's like how. I know that some things you cannot plan for, but they are right in a hurricane path. I don't understand. Why do we not hold these people responsible? Why does the people of Puerto Rico not hold them responsible? I don't get it.
Who knows? They think somebody's going to take care of them.
I guess
evidently.
they know that the big daddy U.S. government, Uncle Sam, good old Uncle Sam's going to bail them out.
Yeah, it's not like we just had one in Texas and Florida.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this is years. I mean, they are in the hurricane zone. It's like living in Tornado Alley in Kansas and not having a basement.
Yeah.
It's just stuff you have to do. I don't have a basement. I know where I can get to one in about 2 minutes because that's the type of planning you have to do if you live in an area that is prone to natural disasters, be it hurricanes, tornadoes, or what have you. I mean, you just plan for these things. The government plans for these things. In Wichita, Kansas, we had in Andover, Kansas, which is a suburb, we had a tornado, 1992, ripped through the community, destroyed numerous houses. It was horrific. It was heartbreaking. If you drive to Andover, Kansas right now, no idea. You would never know it happened unless you get a local who happens to tell you. But in other parts of the world, it just seems like they don't care about this kind of thing. I don't understand.
Too busy partying, probably.
Too busy partying.
Yeah.
The too faithful in the U.S. government to come and give aid. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too judgmental here. One thing about Puerto Rico that not many people, and I tried to get the video, but it's completely in Spanish to start. Second of all, it's it's just. You want to read subtitles, or do you want to have me summarize it? A woman who claims to be an official in Puerto Rico working for the police department actually said on the radio, she called into a mainland United States radio station, saying that the real problem in Puerto Rico is the governor, is the mayor, that they are intentionally preventing the aid from getting out. And you can find this on Facebook.com, search for Mike Cernovich, and you can see the video of this woman calling in, and she is crying, speaking Spanish, saying how horrible it is that they have the food, they have the water, and they just can't get it out because this vile, nasty woman, her words, not mine, this vile, nasty woman won't let them give it to the public because by not giving it to the public, they can make Trump look bad.
Yep. She'd rather see people suffer than help Trump look good. So
suffer, die of starvation.
Because from what I understand, they have dozens and dozens of giant ships lined up ready to dump stuff off to them.
Well, and President Trump made it so international ships can help provide relief. He has sent I can't remember the name right now, but it is a Navy hospital ship. It is there, I believe it is Hope, perhaps, but he has sent the Navy hospital ship to be there to give aid. People are lining up to send money, do whatever anybody can, and according to this woman, you can find it again, Mike Cernovich on Facebook, they're just not getting it out. They have a bureaucracy that says one person, one box, and it is literally killing people. That is the story.
Not surprising.
That is the side of Puerto Rico that you don't get from the mainstream media. And I find it interesting that, Harvey came and it was devastating and it's horrible, and we hope the people of Texas can rebuild, just like we hope the people of Puerto Rico will be able to rebuild.
Rebuild all their shacks.
but here's the deal about it, Craig. I mean, Harvey came, it was horrible, the response was wonderful, it was effective, it's great. Trump went down there, everybody saw their cell phones, it was good. Florida, we had Irma. It was terrible. Wasn't as bad, and many people say, but it was terrible. Trees ripped out of the ground, homes destroyed, horrible, horrible deaths. But it happened. We had the response. Trump went down there. Everybody had their cell phones. It was good. Puerto Rico. Now it's an island. It's isolated. We have this horrible hurricane. 34 people die. It's terrible. Houses are destroyed. Telephone lines are torn apart, cell towers are toppled, no one has their cell phone, and so they can say whatever they want about it. Trump goes down there, all you have are the media's vantage points, and next thing you know, after 2 hurricanes where President Trump successfully managed to help coordinate the federal response, in Puerto Rico he's turning it into Katrina 2.0.
Yeah.
It's totally...
After the governor praised him.
After the governor praised him.
Yes.
And the people of Puerto Rico, they're starting to get their power back, and they're starting to get their cell service restored, and they're coming out on social media and saying that it is total fake news that the president wasn't doing anything about Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah.
But for a good week there, CNN and the rest of them, they had a window. And I think they knew this. I absolutely believe they knew this. That because the Puerto Ricans couldn't speak for themselves, because the internet and the infrastructure and the communications infrastructure was so knocked out, that the media knew that they could lie for a solid week to 2 weeks before that started coming back, because nobody was going to correct them.
Yeah. That's why I don't watch CNN.
That's why you don't watch CNN. Well, we've got to watch it because we know our viewers aren't going to do it.
I have to force feed myself
exactly,
CNN in
like
small doses.
Clockwork Orange style. Prop the eyes open, because if we don't do it, then people won't know what disgusting lies are out there. We do it so you don't have to, and that's what we are here for at The Honest Media. We've got to take just one more moment off. We'll be back after the break to talk about the new push for gun control after the Las Vegas shooting, where 58 people tragically lost their lives. We'll be right back. You're watching The Honest Media with Tom Pappert and Craig Chrysler. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, here with Craig Chrysler, and we're going to now turn to what happened in Las Vegas, which, let's be clear, it is a horrible tragedy. It is a terrible thing that happened to the 550 plus people who were injured or killed, let alone their loved ones who now have to deal with the fallout. Anything we say is not to undermine the seriousness of what happened. It is merely to point out that the responses from the media, from the left, are totally insufficient and wholly irresponsible. As an example, I have right here on my phone, I just did it as we are live on Facebook right now, because I want to tell you what the media is talking about. Not mental health, not trying to find a motive, nothing like that. This is what they're talking about. I Googled bump fire stock. The vet whose bump stock makes a gun fire like a machine gun. NBC News. How does the device the Las Vegas gunman used to create a fully automatic rifle work? A Utah gun lobbyist shows us. Salt Lake Tribune. Bump stock, the device found on Las Vegas shooters' guns. CNN.com. What is a bump stock, and how was it used during the Las Vegas shooting? The New York Times. And virtually every result for a bump stock comes up with some mainstream media tripe about how the only reason this horrible killing happened is because of bump stocks. Craig, you're a gun person. You are a gun enthusiast, I think it is fair to say. Bump stock. Tell us about a bump stock.
Well, they're more of a novelty item than anything. It's just a stock you put on there that makes it bounce back and forth on your trigger finger, so it's not like it's a real machine gun.
It doesn't turn your AR-15 into a Browning machine gun from World War II?
No. And it takes a lot of practice to be good with one of them. Most of the time you'll get 2-3 rounds in succession and then have to reset. But
now how about like a price point? Is this something that anybody can go to Walmart and get?
They're pretty expensive. If I remember right, they're between $200 and $400.
So how common would you say this is? Like you're a shooter, you enjoy guns, you have lots of guns. How common would you say it is?
They're easy to get. There's lots of them out there, but I don't think a lot of people have them. And if they do, they usually sell them right after they get them because they're junk.
So now what is a useful use for this tool?
Just to go mess around.
To have fun at the range, basically.
Uh-huh.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So now what do you think as a
I don't think any serious shooter would take that to a real life situation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now what is your take on all the focus being put on the types of rifles, and now, I mean, it is almost bizarre. I've heard bump stock in the last 48 hours more than I've ever heard it in my life. What is your thought process on all the attention not going on Paddock, not going to the victims, but going instead on the bump stock?
Just the usual Democratic modus operandi to demonize guns and all their little parts you can add on them.
You know, it reminds me a little bit of it. It used to be, you know, the clip size. Well, it has too big of a clip size. We got to ban bullets because the assault clips, the assault clips, Craig, the assault clips,
Yep.
the assault shells.
Yes.
And you know they don't know anything.
It's just their usual garbage they do every time somebody gets shot, but. It's not surprising.
And President Trump, of course, came out and he said, we can talk about guns later. We can talk about politics later. Let's set that aside. Let's come together as a country right now. And of course, this was misreported, and I feel dishonestly reported by many people, even in the conservative coalition. I'm talking about Breitbart. I'm talking about Gateway Pundit. I'm talking about the people we quote right here on this show. They totally lied or misrepresented or didn't understand. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They didn't understand what Trump was saying, which is, we're not going to talk about politics today. We're going to talk about what we need to do as a country. Mm-hmm. Whereas the Democrats, though, day one, start talking about gun control. Trump says, no politics. Democrats say, bump stock.
Yeah, well, old Rahm Emanuel, never let a crisis go to waste.
That's very true.
Yes.
One of President Obama's disciples.
Yes.
But now this is just...
Chicago's head guy.
Chicago's head guy.
Yes.
Good transition there. That was almost planned.
Yeah.
But now this is what's going on in Chicago. Chicago, we talk about it all the time on the show. The Windy City is terrible.
Chirac,
Chicago, whatever you want to call it. The murder rates, it has that name because the murder rates are on par with that of Iraq, with that of a devastated, horrible place that has been picked apart by the United States.
For a while, it was the murder capital of the world. I don't know if it still is, but
I'm not sure
a couple years ago.
But just last month, this comes to us from the Daily Wire, Little Benji's blog. Just last month, there were 59 people killed, and most of those were with guns.
Is that in a weekend or a month?
That was a month.
Okay.
In June, 84 murders in Chicago, most of them with guns.
Mm-hmm.
In July, 76 murders in Chicago, most of them with guns. And then in August, 50, most of them with guns. Now,
isn't there really strict gun laws in Chicago, though, Tom?
Some of the strictest in the country, didn't you know? But gun control, correct, we just need more.
But they're still shooting people?
They're still shooting people.
Is murder illegal?
Murder is murder illegal.
Yes.
You have Rahm Emanuel's phone number. I've got my iPhone here.
Murder might be legal there.
We can break this whole thing wide open if we just outlaw murder.
Yes.
Honest media, you heard it here first, folks. But this is serious, though. This is serious stuff. Chicago is a gun control capital. In fact, until I believe it was 2010, you could not buy a gun in Chicago or anywhere in Illinois. It was illegal.
Yeah, you got to be somebody special to buy guns like there, New York.
And so what happened is the United States Supreme Court, God bless Anthony Scalia, because he's the one who, his vote mattered. They outlawed it, and the Supreme Court came in and said, no, the Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. You cannot just outlaw guns. And so then you've been able to buy them, but they've made it about as restrictive as possible. For instance, you cannot bring a gun into the state of Illinois and sell it. You can't do that. How do you sell guns when you can't bring a gun? You can get up to 15 years in prison for selling a gun in the state of Illinois. 15 years in prison.
I can just sell a gun to you right now, and it's totally illegal here in Kansas.
We should do that on the show someday and make these libtards jealous. But I mean, it is the most restrictive environment for guns in the United States. In fact, they chafe because they are called that. Then they say, well, we're not the most restrictive. New York is more. And then New York comes out and says, well, we're not the most restrictive. Look at Detroit. And everybody takes turns saying, nuh-uh. He hates guns more than I do. But Chicago is one of the most restrictive places for firearms in the United States of America, and yet they have people killed in a month. As many people killed in a month as were killed in the worst mass shooting in the United States history. It's time people stop, we got to quit buying into this gun control argument and stop even addressing it.
Do you think if we make drugs illegal, drugs will disappear?
That just might work.
Yeah.
Why don't we try this stuff, people?
Yeah.
Why don't we try making mass shootings illegal? Because then we won't have them anymore. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Las Vegas. Then we're going to move right along to what's happening in the rest of the country. You're watching The Honest Media. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Honest Media. I'm Tom Papper. We're still talking about gun control, and I found this on the internet on an image board. It's somebody's thoughts on the issue. I just wanted to read it for you here. I can't show it because it's just not something you show, but I just wanted to read this for you here. He's responding to a post about gun control. The person says, this gun control stuff is just odd. According to the left, right now, the government has a Cheeto in office that shouldn't be trusted. But we gotta let said Cheeto take our guns so he can protect us, even though he's incompetent. The cops and the military are racist, but only they can have guns to protect us. For when a shooter illegally obtains a gun and fires it in a gun-free zone, law-abiding citizens who follow the law are not to be trusted with guns because they can harm others, despite them being lawful citizens and murder/violence already being illegal. Is that what they're saying? Is that right? And yes, Mr. Anonymous, I would say that is spot on.
Yeah, I don't think liberals ever think this through to the end result.
Well, Alex Jones to Piers Morgan many years ago said,
I was just thinking.
Stalin took the guns, Hitler took the guns, Mao took the guns. If Trump were really Cheeto Hitler, which is what they seem to think he is, if he were really Cheeto Hitler, he should take the guns.
Yes.
He should be hot on this whole gun control thing, because that's what dictators do. But instead, no. He's saying we're not going to talk about gun control. We're not going to pass laws that can't prevent this.
You're never going to stop crazy people from killing large amounts of people, ever.
That's exactly right. The government cannot protect us all the time. And
it's not the government's job nor the police's job to protect you. It's your job to protect yourself.
Well, fundamentally, that is the truth. And the Supreme Court, by the way, police officers are great, by and large. There are bad eggs, of course, but by and large, police officers are great. But the United States Supreme Court, as they said many years ago, they had a ruling that said police officers don't have to help you.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
It's not their job to protect you.
Their job is
their job to enforce the law.
That's right. And now, if they can't, police officers don't do it. Most police officers become police officers because they want to help people. Let's be clear about that. But they're not legally obliged to run through a hail of bullets to go help you.
Yeah.
They're just not. It's not how it works.
They can, which has happened in a case in New York, a guy getting stabbed on a subway, and they just sat there and watched.
It's a horrible thing to see that happen, but that is...
Because they didn't want to get stabbed up, too.
That is the reality. And now, it's like...
And it was found that it wasn't their job to protect that guy.
Exactly. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's their job to enforce the law. And enforcing the law, I would think, but who knows what type of legal mumbo-jumbo goes on, would be to stop a stabbing. But,
It's their job to arrest the stabber, not to stop him.
There you go. There you go. But so, that's just a couple thoughts on gun control.
Yeah.
And now, Craig, you wanted to talk about some of the inconsistencies, but I want to talk about the inconsistencies in leftist logic. So let's go back to Chicago for just a minute. I know it's like
10
an
hours
oxymoron.
to start off.
It's kind of an oxymoron, isn't it? Leftist logic. That's like, a monocolored rainbow.
Yes.
But so just in July of this year, back to the Daily Wire for just one moment, 115 people were shot in the city in a week. Now, that was in July. Now, for some reason, which we can only postulate, for some reason, Craig, these warmer months are always murder on these cities. See what I did there? Yeah, murderous. And so, but just think about that. Now, it didn't continue that pace all 4 weeks, but suppose it had. 115. So you got 230, you got 460 people that would have been shot in 1 month. If I can do mental math right. I have a college degree. I should be able to. I don't mean anything. But so now just imagine almost 500 people were shot in a month in Chicago. Do you think we'd hear about that? Do you think it would make national news? Do you think we'd have to hear about it for a week?
No.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would talk about it.
Nope.
And I think if the president, as he's done, suggested very modestly that Chicago may need some federal help, I think he'd be called a bigot.
Oh, yeah. A racist, a bigot, a Nazi.
A white supremacist. That's the big one. Anybody who disagrees with you nowadays is a white supremacist.
He's been bringing up the whole Chicago issue for
years.
Yeah, years.
Literally years. And you don't hear about it. But this horror, it is a tragedy. But I almost also think how disrespectful to the poor families The families of the dead, the families of the wounded, the families of the dying, the families of everybody who was at that concert. I mean, that's the type of stuff that will give you PTSD. Enjoying a country music concert with good, wholesome themes, and all of a sudden people are dying around you.
Yeah,
in
you'd
pools
be
of
afraid
blood.
to go out again to anything like that.
I would certainly,
Yeah.
I would.
I was just in Vegas a couple months ago.
That's
I
true.
can't imagine that.
I was in it
happening.
earlier this year, and I mean, it's like you do not think of something like that in the city that is supposed to be fun.
Yeah, just go there for fun. That's
But
it.
I just wonder how terrible this is to the families, where now their loved ones are dead, their loved ones are dying, they have to bury them, they have to go to the morgue and claim the bodies, and they have to make funeral arrangements, and they can't get away from it. They turn on the TV, and you've got CNN talking about why we have to ban the bump stock grip. You have MSNBC saying that Trump's response is wholly inadequate. You have all of these people saying that just will not stop using their loved ones for political gains.
Yeah.
And I think,
What all these people probably want is answers of what the heck really happened.
why the guy did it, how he got the guns, what made him snap, was ISIS telling the truth? These are the answers I think people really
Yeah.
want. And
How did some old guy get what's now 40 guns up in there?
I've heard that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know
20 to
24.
40.
I know 24 was the last real number I heard. I heard somebody say 40 guns. And like the bump stock grip is going to help. There was an article out saying a sheriff said that he could not have done this alone. The wife is a Filipino scam artist. She had 2 husbands in 2 different states. Why aren't we getting answers on this? Why are we focusing on the bump stock grip? I just, it is horribly disrespectful. I feel terrible for these poor
Well,
families.
it's leftist logic.
There you go.
Instead of focusing on the stabber, you focus on what type of knife it was.
That's right. Well, and this goes way back. You remember, I believe it was Christmas of last year, almost a full year ago now. Was it a Muslim attack? No.
Truck attack.
It was a truck attack.
truck attack,
It
yes.
wasn't an insane, horrible man who should be loathed, who should be hated, going and killing people. It was the bump stock grip. The bump stock grip just went out of control and
So,
did its thing.
Are they calling this a rifle attack?
Well, they're calling it. I think they should call it a bump stock grip enabled shooting.
Yes.
That's where we're going here, because they're going to chip away at the Second Amendment, and they're going to, like you say, they're going to use any tragedy, any disaster to get their agenda out there, and it's sickening. And I wish conservatives would stop taking the bait by even deigning to respond. You're watching The Honest Media. We've got to take a moment off. We will be right back after this break. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Now, I want to devote this segment to a few different stories that are all connected. They're all connected because they are all about the globalist propaganda machine crumbling. The wheels are falling off. CNN is getting destroyed by its own mass, its own force, its own free will. They're killing themselves. Jimmy Kimmel is becoming a laughingstock, and it's all shown in the ratings. But I want to start with this one. We've got some pictures, I believe you can see these on your screen, of Sabo, who is a prolific street artist. He is the one who made the what's that god awful woman's name? Amy Schumer 1-star posters. He made those everywhere and put them on benches and on buses and everywhere else throughout major cities. Well, this one, they created posters of Jimmy Kimmel looking like a young Johnny Depp from Cry Baby, and it is entitled The Jimmy Kimmel Estrogen Hour. You like that, Craig?
Oh, nice.
Isn't that just perfect? I hope that catches on. The Jimmy Kimmel Estrogen Hour. That's perfect.
Yeah, somebody needs to give him some estrogen blockers and test boosters, because all he does is go out there and cry.
That's about right. Now, I do want to note that this artist, the guy behind this, I mean, this guy is prolific. He's a great artist. He has a sense of humor. He's a fun guy. He was actually banned from Facebook after criticizing Mark Zuckerberg on the platform. He made a poster about it was Mark Zuckerberg blank free speech. I'll let you insert your own profanity in there. And he posted pictures of that on Facebook. on Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's website, and Facebook literally banned this artist, this worldwide known artist, this prolific guy who has made fun of everybody and anybody. They literally banned him from Facebook.
What a shock.
Yeah, what a shocker that Zuck would zuck him IRL. Zucked by the Zuck man. So yeah, this is just brilliant. I wanted to share that. Let's get that on screen one more time.
I bet his tears are about as real as Glenn Beck's.
Glenn Beck's and crying Chucky Boy Schumer. But the Jimmy Kimmel Estrogen Hour, isn't that just beautiful? Now let's go. We're gonna skip around just a little bit because I want to talk. There's been a merger, and we've talked about this before. It's been a merger on the horizon with CNN. And the Time Warner, basically, AT&T is going to take over Time Warner, theoretically. And, our new FCC chairman has to okay that, I believe. But so now they won't definitively say that Jeff Zucker, he's the head guy at CNN, something about Zucker, whether it's a Zuckerberg or just a Zucker, terrible people.
Yes.
But this guy at CNN, they will not say for sure that he's going to keep his job. And this comes at us from Vanity Fair. There has been considerable speculations about potential changes at Time Warner and its subsidiaries if and when AT&T's takeover of the content behemoth happens. There have been whispers that AT&T could neutralize Zucker as part of the reorganization as CNN continues to clash with President Donald Trump, who has frequently railed against the network as fake news. Prior to the election, Trump said he would block the merger because it would give the company too much power, which I still think is a valid approach. But, let's talk about the Zucker guy. If you all remember, friends, audience, Craig, you're neither of those things. But if y'all remember, back with the Project Veritas, the CNN leaks, they had some great raunchy raw video leaked from CNN. And in one of those, they said that the executive producer, the CEO, sent out a company-wide email to everybody. This would be with Zucker's approval around the time of the Paris Accords, when Trump pulled out of that, saying, all right, everybody, you've been doing great work covering the Paris Accords. It's wonderful. You're doing a good job. It's good news. You're being good reporters. However, go back to the Russia thing immediately for ratings.
Yeah.
He literally said this. We have an admission from a higher-up at CNN who literally said this while being recorded on videotape. So if Zucker had to leave, I'm still not crazy about the idea of CNN getting even bigger parents like AT&T, where they've actually got some serious money. However, I wouldn't be opposed. Now, I want to talk about these ratings. The new ratings for Tuesday, October 3rd are out via adweek.com. And, a couple weeks ago, Craig, it's amazing the way we do this. We are, for two guys in the Midwest with no professional background in this, we are nailing this whole what Fox should do. They should hire us as consultants.
Yeah.
I want my $250,000 a year. So, a couple weeks ago, right here on this program, in these seats, Craig and I were talking about the Fox News and their ratings and what's going on. And this is before their schedule change, where they had smack dab between Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. They had the 5. And the 5 is full of Trump-hating people who look like they have blood coming out of their wherever. And so the 5, I couldn't do it. I would start watching Tucker Carlson, who I love. He's a great TV personality. He's a great person in general. So I would watch Tucker. Tucker would end, and then I'm like, oh no! Now I got to look at Kimberly Guilfoyle and all these people.
I like a couple of them.
They're
the funny
okay
guy.
on their own.
Who's the funny guy?
But the show isn't funny. Gutfeld is good.
Gutfeld.
Waters World. But the thing is, this show isn't funny. They sit there and they criticize the president for an hour, and they call it news. And it's terrible. So, but they've killed that. 5 is still there, but it's on at its usual time, 5 o'clock, Eastern. So 5 is still there. Its ratings are as they always were. So now it's Carlson followed by Hannity. And they are now crushing in the ratings just like they were back before the election, back before the stupid call to kill O'Reilly factor. It is Carlson gets a 764. Hannity is a 1.075, the highest of the ratings that there are. 300 more points than his closest competitor at Anderson Cooper of CNN. Rachel Maddow, who had been dominating the ratings briefly, is now less than half of the viewership of Sean Hannity. It's totally insane the way this is going. And by the way, if we had the full breakdown, which I don't believe I have, yeah, I mean, it gets worse. It gets way worse. They're still losing. These people are still losing to the likes of HGTV.
Yeah.
Which HGTV is a powerhouse, don't get me wrong. We love you, Chip and JoJo, but they are now losing to the likes of HGTV.
Yeah, and old reruns of 50-year-old cartoons.
That's right.
Yeah.
TV Land reruns. I mean, they are getting dominated in the ratings. Nobody believes these people. The only reason they are important at all to society, this is the truth, folks. This is the real truth. The only reason why they have any ability to impact anything is because we're all stuck in this 1980s mindset of, oh, I saw it on TV. They are more legitimate than me. And it's totally sad, and we're getting away from it, and the ratings only show reality setting in. We've got to take another moment off. You've been watching The Honest Media. We will be back after this short break. Welcome back to The Honest Media. It's been a fun show. Thank you for joining us this week. In this last segment, we want to turn to the world stage as we watch globalism, the cracks beginning to turn into major foundational problems for the globalists throughout the country. And as we watch them really just grab on tight and try to make it through this, you know, it's typical, Craig. I think, you know, when you try to take power away from a sociopath, a psychopath, a crazy person, they're going to get really angry really fast, and they're going to fight, and they're going to call you Drumpf, and they're going to say you're Cheeto Hitler, and they're going to say that you're a bigot, and they're going to say that you're a racist, and you're going to say that, well, once your generation is dead, it's all fine. This is what's happening, not just in the United States, by the way, but this is happening in Great Britain, where, as we all know, 2015, was it 2016? But 2016, Brexit, of course, passed. Everybody thought, hey, maybe they're going to turn it around. Maybe we'll be okay. Maybe the Great Britain will once again be Great Britain and not Kyrgyzstan.
Apparently not.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
This is from Breitbart London. UK to imprison people who view far-right propaganda online for up to 15 years.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
15 years. Freedom of speech is beyond dead in that miserable little island.
Yeah, they haven't had freedom of speech for a long time. That's why one of the reasons Milo left. He's been saying that for years.
I mean, he wrote the wonderful article about London is no longer London, and I mean, just think about this. This is the United Kingdom where, of course, they've never had a Second Amendment. They've never had any constitutional right to bear arms. So it's not even a thing over there. It's not part of their culture. But so not only have they had guns taken away, they've had their guns taken away from them. They have now had their knives taken away from them. A child with a butter knife will be kicked out of school and probably sent to the authorities.
Yeah.
They have had their ability to protect themselves removed. Anybody who questions what they call Asians, which is the European word, politically correct word for Muslims, people from it is technically the Asian continent, but
Just leave a comment on Facebook, you'll be arrested.
That's right. That's right. And that is what's happening throughout Europe, and now we know for a fact that it is happening in the United Kingdom. People have been questioned. We've covered it, I believe, or maybe not. We've had people questioned in the United Kingdom for Facebook comments, for YouTube comments, for Twitter comments.
They have a special police force for it.
That's right. You remember a couple weeks ago we talked about, they had a post, their social media, the police in London, where if you go to the gym, are you a right-wing bigot in disguise?
Yep.
Going to the gym is a right-wing
That place
activity.
is completely lost, apparently.
I
The
think
Queen
so.
needs to reenact her powers and just have the guard trample everything, apparently.
I hope I don't know if even she would be able to overcome the cuckoldry we're seeing in that miserable couple islands. I mean, this is from Breitbart again. People in the United Kingdom could face up to 15 years in prison for repeatedly viewing far-right propaganda or terrorist material online, according to a report in The Guardian. A new maximum penalty of 15 years imprisonment will also goodness, will also apply to terrorists who publish information about members of the armed forces, police, and intelligence services for the purpose of preparing acts of terrorism, while the tightening of the law around viewing terrorist material is part of a review of the government's counterterrorism strategy following the increasing frequency of terrorist attacks in Britain this year. So now this is something we've seen in the United States too. Terrorism is terrible. Islamic terrorism is awful. I mean, it is something to be concerned about. It should be on everybody's radar. But this is so typical of government, big government, leftists, and people who are nominally on the right. You know, we're talking about the conservatives. We're talking about the John McCain's, the Lindsey Grahams. They use terrorism to take our liberties away.
Yeah.
This is nothing we're not used to in the United States, but it is absolutely disgusting that they're saying going to a website, going to who knows what. They get to decide. Is it the Daily Stormer? Is it Breitbart?
You could watch a World War II documentary and be arrested.
If you watch it more than once, you're a
Yeah.
bigot. I mean, it is the very fact that merely wanting to know what the other side, what the extremists are saying, that could get you in prison. Totally insane.
That's beyond Orwellian.
This is
Everything,
it is exactly it is so far beyond. I mean, at least the guy got re-educated, and in the end of the book, he's back out in public. This is beyond that. That's 15 years. If you're 50 years old and you're reading a little too much Breitbart, you're watching a little too much Honest Media, you're gonna die in prison, maybe. It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's ridiculous.
Now, tell me if this is Saudi Arabia or Great Britain, because if I leave out the place where it happened, you're not going to know. 22 arrested for inciting public feelings online. Saudi Arabia or Great Britain?
Could be both.
I think my production manager just messed it up by putting it on screen for us. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia arrests 22 for inciting public feelings online. That could be Great Britain.
Yeah.
That could easily be the Islamic Republic of Brit-Bongistan.
Yeah. Old Mo, Captain Mo over there.
That's right, the most popular baby name. But Saudi Arabia has arrested 22 people, including a Qatari national, for inciting public feelings on social media, authorities said Wednesday, following a crackdown on dissent. So while Saudi Arabia is allowing their women to drive, so long as they have a man with them, they are apparently taking a step backwards by cracking down on inciting public feelings.
What kind of feelings were incited?
I think it's the type of feelings you were getting on Instagram earlier.
Oh, yes.
Those detained have posted video clips online, the official Saudi press agency said, citing a security source, adding that authorities were investigating their motives and connections. What do you think that girl you were showing us earlier, what do you think her motives were on the Instagram?
I don't know.
Their number is 22, one of them Qatari, the rest are Saudis. Their motives and links are being verified. There was a video clips on social networking sites inciting public feelings. This is literally what they say. These people are on the Human Rights Council.
Yeah.
It's so comical. I just have to laugh.
They're the head of it, aren't they?
Well, they are, yes, and especially, and I believe women's rights, too.
Yeah.
Now, let's come back to the United States for just a minute as we begin to wrap up our program here today. You remember John Ossoff? Remember this guy?
I remember the name.
You remember the name. Nobody remembers this guy. He spent millions and millions of dollars. Nobody remembers this guy. He's the failed Georgia Democrat, John Ossoff. He didn't even live in the district he was running for. He was in the special election, ended up being a Republican one. But so he didn't even live in the district. And everybody forgot him, had millions of dollars from the special interest and the lobbyists given to him, and he is now going to launch a comeback bid. I just want to take a minute. I don't even want to get into the story, but how hilarious is it that these Democrats can no longer take a loss?
Yeah. They just got to keep throwing money away, apparently.
Hillary Clinton loses by one of the largest electoral margins in history, in our nation's history. And yet she writes a book about it. It's totally crazy.
Apparently directing the Navy now.
And I guess so. She is in charge of the Navy. I never thought that would happen. But yeah, Madam President Hillary Clinton in charge of But so we have to point that out. We have to laugh at these people because they are legitimately insane. Now, this is the good news we want to leave you with for the day. If you didn't check Twitter this morning, the president was very active. I think I counted 20 tweets when I woke up, which is a personal best for him, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean, that's a good one. I may be off on that, but it was a large number of tweets this morning when I woke up. And And one of them, President Trump said the Senate Intel Committee should investigate the fake news media instead of constantly going on and on about Russia. His tweet said, "Why isn't the Senate Intel Committee looking into the fake news networks in our country to see why so much of our news is just made up? Fake." That's what we've been saying.
Yeah.
Maybe make them a little honest. I don't know. Might be nice. You've been watching The Honest Media, by the way. I'm Tom Pappert. This is Craig Chrysler. Find us online. And by the way, we'll be back here, same time, same place, next week. We'll see you then.